Welcome to the Cell Soul Source podcast. I'm Jackie, a chiropractor, yogi, and Akashic reader, and I'm here to activate healing in light workers of all kinds so they can serve from an empowered place and fulfill their purpose with ease, awe, and wonder. The Akashic Records have become such an important part of my life. I access the records daily in some shape or form, and they literally have changed my life. So I thought today we'd do a deep dive into the Akashic Records, what they are, and more importantly, how they can help you. So the Akashic Records are basically an energetic field that stores the information of everything, every thought, every action, every idea, every experience that any soul has is recorded in the Akashic field. So if you think about it, your thoughts, your emotions, experiences, it's all energy. Everything has a vibrational frequency, and that is stored or makes an impression in the Akashic field. So it gets stored or recorded in the Akashic field. And every soul has its own Akashic record. So the easiest way for people to get their head around this is to think about Akasha as being the energetic library. And then the Akashic Records is every soul's individual personalized book that stores their journey. So it stores your soul's journey across all space and time. It's an energetic record of your soul's entire journey. So I have been interested in the idea of the space between us. What is in the space between me and you? It's vast. It can't just be nothing. So those were the thoughts that I used to have. Those of you that know me know that I contemplate things very deeply. I have gate 20 as my personality sun in human design. So I contemplate things really deeply. What is in that space between us? And Akasha means spirit or space. And so the Akashic field is in that space between us, recording every event. So you might wonder how someone reads the Akashic Records. Like, how would I read your Akashic record? Well, every soul, every consciousness, if we want to kind of get down into the weeds, has its own frequency. Everybody has their own vibrational frequency. So my frequency will be different from yours, will be different from the next person. So if you imagine like tuning in an old school radio, you turn the dial until you get the radio station that you are looking for. And in between those stations, it's just kind of static. And that's what I'm doing. So I go through a little process to open your records. And then that's what I'm doing. I'm trying to dial into your frequency so that I can receive the information that wants to come through. And different people do this in different ways. I personally am quite clairsentient, so I feel a lot of things. So initially when I go into somebody's records, I'll get a feeling. There'll be sensations in my body, and I'll be directed as to where to go, what questions to ask, what information wants to come through. I'm also what's called claircognizant. So information will drop in. Sometimes I'll double check it and I'll run that energy through my body, and I'll get the sensation that I know is a yes, or the sensation that I recognize as a no. But that's largely how I personally access the records. People, like I say, do it in many, many different ways. So why on earth would this even matter? If you're anything like me, I'm basically a 5-year-old child and I keep going, but why? But why would we store all that information? Why would it be, so important to collect all that information? Well, the Akashic Records are essentially a healing frequency. And because it stores the energetic impression of everything, it allows us to access information. And from that, we can heal, we can release things, we can amplify things. And my favorite part about it is we can do it at speed. I love to move fast. I love for things to go fast. And so because we're working with energy, it's a lot faster than the more dense, physical body that we were perhaps dealing with before. And I will explain a little bit more about this in a minute. To really, really understand this, I need to just kind of give you a little bit of background about energetics. Energy is moving through us all the time, and we're not attaching to it. It's just flowing through us. So imagine gravity coming down through the body. It hits the ground and it rebounds back up. It's that kind of movement or flow of energy until we attach to something. Now, we can attach to something because we perceive it or we've labeled it as good and we want to remember it and we want to feel into it some more. But we can also attach to something that we've labeled as bad or something that we weren't expecting or we aren't able to process in that moment. And so your energetic body takes a really, really detailed impression of that event or that experience so that you can fully process it later. In yoga, we call this impression a samskara. And it remembers all the details. It remembers who was there, how you felt, the smells, the sounds. And it does it out of love because it wants you to be able to process that event fully in the future. So at a time where it feels safe or it feels appropriate or you've got, the tools that you need. But say, for example, this happened when you were 2 years old. You're not going to remember that event. You're not going to remember when you're 40 what happened when you were 2, but that energetic impression is still there. It's still waiting for you to process it. And that impression is still playing out in your reality. And you could now be 20, 30, 40, 70 years old. And it's still waiting there with love to be processed in good time. So let me give you an example that will help you walk through this whole process. Imagine you are 2 years old and you're sitting on the floor and crying. So this was somebody that I worked with recently. They were sitting on the floor crying, and in that moment, they felt like they were being abandoned. So I was later shown that mom did come and pick him up and everything was absolutely fine. But in that moment, he believed he was being abandoned. And at 2 years old, that's really scary. Your primal brain is going, oh, my needs aren't being met. This is dangerous. I might not survive. So now in later life as an adult, all that person knows is I just keep getting feedback. I keep getting the physical feedback. My hips hurt. My sacroiliac joints hurt. I am a chronic people pleaser. I help people, but then I actually resent them for putting on me. And I feel tired all the time because I'm doing so much stuff for other people. So that kind of feedback is telling you where you are blocked, but it's not telling you why. And this is how I personally work with the Akashic Records. So I can see the pattern in your symptoms, your discomfort, your thought patterns, your behaviors, your language. I can tell where you're blocked within an hour just on that information alone. But I can't tell you why you're blocked. So when we open up your Akashic Records, we're able to access this information. That's why it stores everything. And in your records, we are shown, there was a time that you were 2 and you felt abandoned sitting on the floor. And in that moment, you created a limiting belief. Oh, my needs aren't going to be met. And I am on my own. I've got to do life on my own. So you become in that moment hyper independent. You never ask for help, but you give help all the time because subconsciously you don't want to be abandoned. So this level of understanding allows you to give yourself so much grace. So even if we weren't able to do anything else from there, just you understanding why you think and behave the way you do allows you to give yourself so much grace. Instead of going, oh, why am I like this? Now you know, and you can go, oh, I understand why I'm like this. What can I do about changing how I am? But because we're in the Akashic Records, we can do something about it. And this is where the speed part comes in. So if you did, for example, talk therapy around that, you can sometimes do that for years. And often you never move that energy or that energy in motion through the body. Or for years, like I did, you could focus on the hip issue or the sacroiliac issue and never address the underlying emotional aspect. But because in the Akashic Records, you get to the root cause, the original impression, and you're able to dissolve it, change can happen really quickly. I've seen physical symptoms disappear overnight. And then I take my clients through their energy bodies so that we can clear this blockage through and encode new default patterns. But you can dissolve the energetic charge that's still playing out in your field in the Akashic Records. So when you feel like you've tried all the things, the people I work with know about the pillars of health. They're already doing more than most people, and yet they still feel stuck, or they're at a plateau, or they're struggling to shift a physical symptom, or they intuitively sense they have a blockage somewhere themselves, and often it's just in a blind spot. That's why I still work with other people. I still, join masterminds and have mentors, because we all have blind spots and we're not supposed to do this alone. We are supposed to do this in community. So when you can dissolve the blockage that has you feeling stuck, you release all that energy. Can you imagine how much time and energy we waste trying to push through a blockage or modifying our way around it? Or all the practices we need just to be able to manage what we're feeling physically emotionally. All the rituals and the self-care that we have to use just to try and feel the way we want to feel as standard. You release all that energy, and ultimately you can use it to take yourself from reaction mode into creating mode. So instead of being buffeted by life and feeling like it's happening to you all the time, you can lean in and know that it's all feedback, trying to get your attention so that you can release this stuff and move forward. Just feeling happy and bliss. Your true nature, your original essence is happy and bliss. So the Akashic Records allow us to find all the narratives, the stories, the limiting beliefs, all the armor that prevents us from feeling that in the first place. And it allows us often to do it really quickly, because energy moves faster than your kind of dense physical body, for example. And that is why I absolutely love working with the records. I personally still work with everything. I've got a long history of being a body worker, and then the yoga philosophy in the middle, which was the bridge between, the body work and the consciousness in the Akashic realm. And so I still believe we need all of it. We still need to move the physical body. We still need to move energy through us. We still need to understand and transmute our emotions. But the information that we get from the Akashic Records means that we can do all of those things strategically. So now you're not guessing about your self-care. You're not guessing about what modality is going to help you best. You're not trying out the latest things. You are making the strategic, specific shifts that you require to shift your blockage, because we have so much information and so much understanding about what is really going on for you. And we're able to, like I say, heal it, dissolve it, release things, amplify things, so that you get to live your best life, the life you came here to live. The reason I came across the Akashic Records was my line in the sand moment. This will not be my life anymore. I did not come here to struggle and hopefully enjoy a bit of retirement on the end. And when I drew that line in the sand, the Akashic Records came in and showed me the way. Showed me how to get onto the right path and live my best life. So you're welcome to book a single reading if you feel called, or in all of my one-to-one spaces, my programs, I either read your records on your behalf or lead you in reading your own, so that we can all just dissolve the blockages that hold us back and run headlong into the life that we all desire. I hope that was useful and activated a few things so your cogs start turning a little bit. And I so look forward to connecting with you on the next podcast. I am rooting for you. We rise together. If you feel called, please rate and review. I would really appreciate that.